Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and here is part 3 in our series regarding relationships and empowering ourselves to not only date, but line ourselves up with finding someone that is in alignment to all that we are, all the values that represent who we are as a person, and build a real solid foundation for the next relationship. You know, we've gone through breakups. That is really where we start, because we learn to honor what we had before. We honor our loss. We honor who we were in that relationship. We're able to become stronger and better versions of ourselves if we allow ourselves to properly process the breakup. Honestly, looking clearly at really what happened and taking our own responsibility, whatever that might look like. Like, we are all responsible in a way for the demise of our own relationships. Doesn't mean that we're the abusive ones, or, you know, there's just some people that we should just not be with, but there's some way down the road that we might have avoided really listening to our intuition, that we might not have been in the right relationships. Maybe we didn't speak up when we needed to. Maybe we didn't listen to ourselves, or we walked on eggshells and all the warning signs were telling us to get out of there, but yet we didn't. So it's very important to get out of the victimization and really clearly look at and assess the relationship and allow the pain of loss. And that leads to number 2, which is empowering ourselves to date. And we go through all these different processes, and it's so important to allow the loss. And that is at the very beginning of the breakup, they're not there anymore. And we have that void, which we really need to recognize and address and acknowledge. Then we release toxic ties. We cut ties from somebody that we might be going back and forth to. Don't go back to the ex. It's not a good thing to do. There's a reason it ended. And we need to release unconscious patterns, really examine those core beliefs underlying our behavior, looking in the mirror and to see how life is showing up for us, because it really is a mirror reflection of who we are being on the inside. Again, that's personal responsibility. And then you can set an intention for love and vision it and bring it into your life by having those feelings of having it already, because those are the keys to manifestation. Then you make the right choices, and within that is surrender. You have to surrender that there's a higher power at work that is going to align those things for you that you are so desiring. It might not come in your own time. I'm a good example of that. I thought it would come 4 months after my last breakup, and here I am 7 years later. But you know what? Who I have become and who I am now has changed so much in the last 7 years. And it's changed so much even in the last 6 months of who I would want for a partner. So I really we have to become that of which we want to attract. And I am still growing and evolving. I love who I am right now, and I really think I'm more clear on who I would like to attract into my life. So, therefore, we are empowering ourselves. We've cultivated solitude. We enjoy being alone. We discover what we like to do as a person. We discover our purpose. We start living this life that we'd like to welcome somebody into. And that's the best place to do. And that's the best place to be to go into the next phase, is getting out there and getting ready for love. How do we do that? where do we go? We might see our Facebook feed or Instagram, and there's all these loving couples. Someone's getting engaged, someone's getting married, and here you are wondering how you're ever going to meet your match. Well, one of the ways that people are doing that is through online dating. And while I'm not the hugest fan of it, well, online dating when it used to be Match.com, I'd meet somebody within a couple weeks, but now we've got all these swiping apps, and I'm particularly not a fan of it myself. I've tried it on and off over the years, and I just have not found any fit to even spend even a modicum of a little bit of time with. But that's my own personal experience, because a lot of people are meeting online. Like 40% of Americans are using online dating right now, and the numbers are expected to go up yearly. Like most people are meeting people online, especially this year with the pandemic. How do you meet someone? People aren't going out anymore. You can't see anyone with these darn masks on. And it's been really impossible, but now we're open for God knows how long. You can get out there. People are sitting up at the bars. You can go and sit. I'm not talking about the nightclubs. This maybe in a younger generation, those are fun, but I'm 50 years old, and I'm looking for a true partner. So it ain't going to be in no nightclub. So I'm thinking about like sitting up at a restaurant bar. You can engage with people. Like, where can you go? What do you love to do? Where would you meet an outstanding man? Maybe he's, plays golf. Maybe it's in some kind of empowerment group, or what kind of man would you like to meet? So you can put yourself in those circumstances. Like, I wouldn't go somewhere just in order to meet somebody and going to do something that you hate, because eventually it's going to come out if you couple up that you might hate golfing, or you really don't like fishing and you can't stand camping, let alone being outside in bugs. Oh, forget about it. So find something that really resonates with something that you like to do. Maybe like to go sailing, or, you're a big hiker, join some clubs and such like that. So that's what I'm putting myself out to do. But a lot of people are meeting online, and the apps are working for them. Most of the people I hear, they can't stand it, but people are meeting on them. I know people that have gone on once and they've met their partner and they're engaged and getting married. Another one, the first time they ever went on, they met their match and they've been together for years, and they've created this amazing business together, and they're building their next home. So it does work. So I'm going to go through some of the statistics before I go into my own personal advice as far as online dating, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So starting with some of the stats, according to a recent survey, more men are using online dating than women. This is from eHarmony. I don't know what year this is. You can kind of get the gist. It said more men are using online dating than women. Age can impact finding a match. For women, online dating statistics show that a woman's desirability online peaks at 21. Woo! Put me out to pasture now. But at 26, women have more online pursuers than men, whereas at 48, men have twice as many online pursuers as women. And that's true, because the guys I'm trying to date, I'm 51, are dating all the 21-year-olds or 30-year-olds. So it definitely is a little more of a challenge, I think, for someone like me in my age group. Even though people do find love, I look and feel much, much younger than somebody typically sees me at my age. And, online, there's certain algorithms that are going to weed me out, because ideally a lot of men, they do date younger typically. There are a few men that do like older women, but when it comes to a number, you don't really see the person. So you're filtered out, someone like me, because of my age. So somebody might put up to 45, and that's the deal breaker. So yeah, it's a little bit more of a challenge online. I much rather meet someone out in person, but as we've seen, the challenges of this last year has eliminated that. And it might do it again. Let's hope not. Let's pray it doesn't. That doesn't mean there's not great men on there. It's just, I'm finding from my own experiences, there's a lot more weeding. Back in the day, there might have been like a lot of people that you could date with that are like great men that you can have a nice time with, or, they might not be the one, but you're having like some nice in-between experiences. I'm not finding that. I'm not finding that. I think there's a lot of distraction with the apps and online because even though you might have a great date, they're back home and they're flicking through their apps, seeing who's next, who's the next thing, what's better, like it's almost like, ooh, shiny object. Regardless, with that being said, there are over 40 million Americans using online dating websites today. And a lot of those are apps because even the websites like Match.com, eHarmony have gone to the swiping era, the swiping apps. And 27% of young adults are using online dating sites, which is up significantly. And over 50 to 60-year-olds, there's an increase year to year. Some of the other stats, real quick, 53% of people lie on their online dating profile. And what do they lie about? Age, their height, their weight, and their job or their income. 20% of women surveyed by global research agency Opinion Matters admitted to using an older photo from when they were younger and thinner. More than 40% of men said they lied about their jobs in an effort to sound more successful. I'm going to touch more on these as we go deeper into the podcast. And I've got some things to say about that. Onwards, 22% of online daters ask friends to help create their profile. And it says location matters. Where you live will impact your online dating experience simply because certain locations have more active users. 50% of New York State residents are single, and that city has the most users on eHarmony. On the contrast, there are a lower number of users in Idaho, where 60% of the population is married. And of course, number 7, female users aren't just looking for hookups. A lot of people aren't looking for hookups anymore. Tinder used to be the biggest hookup site, and it was oh my gosh, you're on Tinder. It was a bad connotation. But you see people that are really looking for serious relationships, and they can say it in their little short bio, and you can put it in the settings as well. So I'm finding it's not just a hookup. There's Bumble, there's Hinge, there's all those others, and I am finding that people are really truly looking for relationships. If you're looking for just a hookup, say that you are. And I have seen that as well. I've seen couples looking for threesomes or having a multi-person relationships. Those kind of creep me out all the time. They creep me out, but to each their own. At least they're stating it up front, and you're not going to go out with this person and find that out later. Oh my gosh. And I just that just made me think of some of the profiles that I've seen, and they're just, there's some horror stories. It's hysterical. My friends and I sometimes, when we don't have anything to do, we'll pass back and forth these profiles that are what are they thinking? Again, with the stats, 20% of current committed relationships began online. And I really think it's going to keep increasing over the years. So it's a love-hate thing, You do it until you're so tired of doing it. And, you approach it now maybe again from a different energy. And maybe it's your time, and maybe you'll attract that person. In the survey, common interests and looks are the most important factors. When it comes down to it, 64% of people who use online dating sites are looking for someone they have something in common with, and 49% say they are looking for someone with physical characteristics that they are attracted to. So how do you navigate these waters? And again, this is from my years of experience of doing online and for what I found works best for me. And it kind of seems like it's kind of like a no-brainer. When you go into the profile, that's the first of all. When you're on one of these apps, you have your first photo. There's not much room. You can write something, but it's very important. I find that you do. That is one of my instant lefters, no matter how good looking the person might be. If they're using these beautiful photos of themselves and they don't take the time to even write one thing about themselves, it's an instant left for me because they're thinking that it's just their picture that's going to attract you. And it might, but for a quality person, you got to take the time to write something. And you only get 500 words usually. And it's important. I've seen a lot of times someone that writes something really negative on there. Got to try to stay positive. They might be on there just saying, oh, I don't want fish lips. And anyone that supports Trump, there's a lot of brainless people out here. It's just no, you don't start that with negativity. Another thing, your first picture is really important. And I see so many faux pas in this area that are big no-nos. I see so many that only have sunglasses on. Like you're starting your first photo with sunglasses. I can't see your eyes. And as I go down, every picture is a sunglass, and maybe there's a distant picture that I can't even see yourself. Yeah, your sunglasses might be cool, but I want to see who you are. I want to see your eyes. I want to see a smile. It's so important to smile. And I see so many of them that, there might be a pouty look, or there's a side angle look, or I can tell that every single photo is taken at the same time, like the selfie. And it makes me wonder, do you have any friends that might take photos of you? Or it's a little creepy that you're just throwing up these photos where it's you taking the same photo of yourself, just maybe from a different angle. We've also got the selfie in the mirrors. Guys, please don't do this. Don't take a selfie of yourself in the mirror where I can see you holding the phone and there's the mirror and there's yourself. Definitely do not show just body parts. I don't want to see just your chest or you lifting up your shirt to show your abs. There's better ways to do that. Like if you're just playing volleyball, if you're on vacation in Hawaii, or if you're surfing, I can tell you have a nice body. You don't have to just show that right in front of my face. That is not what I'm going to be attracted to. At least me, you're going to get an immediate left. So I've seen ones where there's oh, this is great. He's got a great bio. He's got a, look at him. He's got, a nice smile. And then, oh, snap. There's that abs. I just can't go there. Flip, swiping left. There's also bad angles where it looks like you might be a serial killer and you're looking down at my dead body. Really take the time to really think about what you're putting up there. Also, I'm in Oregon. I don't know what it is out here. A lot of fishing photos, like dead fish. They're holding dead fish. Or there you are in your hunting gear and there's dead deer. Someone like me. Bambi traumatized me. I saw it at the theaters. I am not going to be going out with somebody that just killed a deer. But I mean, honestly, at least they're showing who they are at the beginning, but I don't think you should be putting dead animals on your profile. Maybe you put it on your profile that you enjoy hunting, then somebody that does enjoy hunting or doesn't mind it will be attracted to you. But dead animals, a no-go. We're women. Most of us don't want to see dead animals on there. Also, I've seen you with other women. We're wondering, who is this woman? Is it your daughter? Is it your ex-girlfriend? Who is it? Or I'm seeing them just scribbling out their face. I mean, they've got your arm around you, obviously, and you can tell if it's intimate or not, and you're going to scribble out their face. Dude, crop them out. There's easy editing tools on your iPhone. We don't have to see them in the photo, or choose another one. There's also the ones that have kids in every photo, or maybe they have 5 kids. I mean, great. They're telling them who they are. They do have children. And I've also seen them say that my kids come first. Like you're already telling the person without them even meeting you that you're not going to be important to them. And that's how I read that as. And of course, kids are going to be pretty much the most important thing in your life. And of course, if a bus came hurtling down the pathway, they're going to jump for their kids and save them first. I mean, that's a no-brainer. It's a given. But I'm not going to let myself be put last in when we get into a relationship. So I'm not going to allow it to be that. I need to be on equal playing fields. I don't want to be less than someone else. So that's something that I'm not going to choose to swipe right on. I'm going to go left on that. And also there's the men where their dogs are in every single photo. Come on, guys. I love an animal too. So you're just kind of saying that your dog's going to be everywhere with you. I don't bring my cats everywhere with me. So I appreciate that you love your dog, but it's a little too much. And now to add even more fuel to the fire of bad profiles, they are now encouraging on all these apps vaccination status. Like you can get badges on your profile like, ooh, fully vaccinated, ooh, vaccinating soon, or in their profiles, fully vaccinated. I mean, come on, what are we, horses? Like, when do we start advertising, ooh, I'm vaccinated against syphilis, or I've got, 2 right testicles, or I am free of heart disease. I mean, come on, y'all. I mean, maybe that's important to some people, but for me who views medical freedoms and personal choice when it comes to what we put in our bodies, it's an instant turnoff. And I really feel horrified that they are putting these on apps now. What you do with your own body and what your choices are is that just that. It's your own choices and it's nobody else's business. The problem is it's become so politicized and it's being used to divide and be divisive. It's almost like an honor badge in virtue signaling. And mama here, this woman, does not dig it. So enough with that. That'll be an instant left, 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 big major left. Goodbye. So those are some big no-nos, and there are some positives because you do come across some profiles that have, they've taken the time. There's this person that, it's good lighting. They have a big smile on their face. You can see them straight on, and it's so refreshing to see those because unfortunately they're very few and far between. And then their next photo, maybe it has them doing an activity, but you can still see them. You're not way in a distance doing a sport that you can't even see who this person is. It's great to see your sports, but we need to assess and see who you are. I mean, I hear from a lot of men that they get a lot of filtered photos from women, or they're doing duck lips, or they've got the little ears, or those Instagram filters where they look like a kitty cat, or they might look like, a cartoon character. Like, honestly, show who you are. Get rid of those filters because there's going to be a point you meet and you want to look like your photo. And I've been told that I look better in person than my photos, and I already have great photos up. So I don't put anything on there that is going to show my body because people want to see your body. They want to see that you're fit, that you don't show up like, I hear from a lot of men, their dates show up and they're like 20 pounds overweight. And a lot of women, like men, lie about their height and they say they're 5'10", or they say they're 6 foot tall and they show up and they're 5'7". So be honest with that. There's no hiding that when you do meet up in person. So when I do put a photo, I'm not going to show myself in a bathing suit. That's something that, somebody that I'm dating for a while is going to see down the road. But I might put something up where like I'm hiking, or if I love traveling. So like one of mine had a picture in Bali in a rice field. I had shorts on, I was doing an activity. I've got photos, like a lot of smiling photos. I don't wear a lot of makeup, some with makeup or done up to go out for an evening. A lot, there's some without any makeup because I feel I look beautiful without makeup, and that's how I am half the time anyway. I have curly hair, so I show some photos with curly hair. I blow my hair out a lot, so I have some like that as well. So I have a lot of photos that, show me in different aspects. I think you can usually only put 5 to 8, so I might put about five up in different varieties, with some traveling or some doing some outdoor activities, some with some friends, only some friends if I've already shown a lot by myself. So, the worst thing is to see a photo of all these people and you can't tell who the person is that is on the profile because they're in a distance with this group of people that you can't even pick the person out. So once you have gone through the profiles and maybe you match up with someone. I mean, on Bumble, like the woman reaches out first. And I find, at first I thought it was really bad because I always liked a man to initiate, but I think they created it so women would have the opportunity to like select who they wanted to speak with. I think it might have set a bad precedence in some ways because a lot of the other apps like Tinder and such, you might match with someone. And I find it's enough to match with a man for them to show that you're interested, for them to initiate. So a lot of men on these other apps are not initiating anymore. They're got so used to like Bumble where women are reaching out to them to initiate the contact. So with Bumble, you swipe and you match and then you reach out, you initiate, hi, how are you? It's so good that we matched here. And then they have 24 hours to respond. And if they don't respond, they expire. So the matches expire. And then they have something where they can maybe extend it to a longer period if you don't get back to them. Or some of them can go backwards if they missed you. I think it's more of a paid feature. I think that's a good thing because it's not like Tinder where you might match with somebody and then they sit at the top of your queue. I've got all these men up there that haven't reached out even though we've matched, that kind of sit there waiting for the woman to initiate. No, honey, this is Tinder. If you want that, you go on Bumble. They're just going to disappear on Bumble if you don't hear from them. I'm kind of an old-fashioned girl. I like a man to initiate, and I'm finding a lot of men are not initiating on these. But I think it's also there's different generations that are dating each other, and a lot of the younger generations have no problem reaching out and initiating and pursuing a man. They have no problem with it. It's just the times have changed. And I think there's a lot of confusion because of that, because I know a lot of women that are my age or, close to my own age or in their 40s or have become well established. They want to be pursued by someone that's showing genuine interest in them. So many of these women are taking the lead in their own lives. So it's nice to have somebody that is willing to, step up and really be a man. And it's showing that she doesn't have to do everything, especially when it comes to her romantic life. Okay, so now you've matched up with somebody and you have a dialogue going. There is a certain progression I feel needs to happen in order to take it offline into real life. And that is like you can chat a little bit on the app, kind of ask a few questions, just kind of see if there's some bantering back and forth. And then I feel you should move on to text, so you can give them your number. I know a lot of people say, well, you can just text on the app. Me personally, I don't like being on the app very much, so I don't mind giving them my phone number. It's something you can always block later on if you need to. So text a little bit online and then move on to texting. And in order to move on to a phone call, I find it's very important to at least hear a voice before going out on a date. So many times it's just via text. And I think it's important to get, the tone. Do you even like their voice? Can you hold a conversation, a short conversation, even if it's to just say hello and arrange plans for a date, because that shouldn't be too far after. And a lot of people, I find even on these apps, they're having a text relationship or they're having an online relationship, and it keeps dragging on and on. The idea is to get offline and in person so you don't waste too much time in this little fantasy about a person that might never ever work out. And I find that having a quick phone call just to say hello, it can be just like 5 minutes just to kind of hear their voice, hear their personality. You can even do a video chat if you need to, if you feel that's comfortable, because then you can kind of like get an idea if they really look like their photos. You can kind of like see in their background maybe where they might live and get an idea like if they keep a clean house, stuff like that. Something really quick, and arrange for a date to meet in person. Something easy, something casual. I mean, the coffee dates become like the pretty much of norm because coffee dates during the day can be shorter. And if you're having a horrible time, or if it's just not a match, it's easier to get out of the situation. You can do a walk in your neighborhood. You can do something just to see each other in person really quick. Go grab a smoothie. I mean, a lot of guys always want to meet for drinks. It's the thing, hey, you want to grab a drink? I don't want to grab a drink. I mean, drinks are great, but I think it's better to have a daytime date and make it quick. And if it ends up being a great date, of course, it can be longer. And I think longer dates are a little easier when you've met in person already and you already know there's a vibe and there's already an attraction. In those cases, yeah, it might be great to go out to dinner or go on a longer date or doing something with more time investment. But with online, you just don't really know until you meet them. So I feel a very quick meeting is the best bet for you, because you can escape if you need to, and hey, you can open up your day or your evening for longer if it does end up working out. So let's just say you had the date and you had a great time, you were vibing, the conversation was good, and there's an attraction. There's things to look for when the date is over, because the time that is in between seeing each other is as important, if not more important, the time that is spent together in the very beginning. And some things to look for. Is he following up? Is he calling? Is he asking for more plans within a couple days of the date? Are you only hearing from him once or twice in a week? Is it all texting? Is he just like texting without making any plans? Because what happens a lot of times, Guys are and girls as well are dating multiple people, and sometimes they might just, have you, and they might be stringing you along by just like, hey, checking in with you, but then they're not making plans with you because they have like Sheila, Kelly, and Mariah all on their dating string. So you want someone that's going to be able to move the relationship forward and is really showing an interest in and getting to know you. I've had a lot of dates where you might have a great date, but then you don't hear from them. I won't hear from them in like a week, and then they might ask for a next date. And then I go out with them and then I don't hear from them again. And it's kind of like 50 first dates because we're not getting to know each other between these dates and all this time is going by. So it's really important for me to see how they're showing up and how much interest they are in getting to know me. And for me, I'm reciprocal. I'm going to reciprocate your attention to me, and I'm going to be very grateful and thankful and complimentary to your romantic pursuit and your endeavors. There's also the thing to look for too is that, we've got 24 hours in a day. Who doesn't, as a man, have their phone on them all the time? Like literally it's on their person, and a woman has their phone all the time too. And you're only hearing from at nighttime, like 9 o'clock at night. I mean, come on, y'all. We're in the very beginnings of dating. You have time to like kind of just text and check in and say hello. And none of these 10:30, 11 o'clock at nights. It's disrespectful. And if I get something like that, I'll wait till the next morning to text them back. Very important too is it's all texting. Texting's fun, but it's not a best way to communicate with someone and really get to know a person. So is he calling me? Is he picking up to call me that he's thinking about me? Are we having conversations? Are we getting to know each other in between the dates? Follow through. Is he doing what he says he's going to do? When he says he's going to call you and then doesn't, that's an indicator that he's not a man of his word. And there's instances where you might talk and you might talk about making plans. But for me, unless there's a time and a place, it's not a date. Unless there's a confirmation the day before or the morning of, it's not a date. And I've been proven that many times in the past, where we talk about making plans, then you don't hear from them at all. And then you don't hear from them at all, ever again. It's really perplexing. I've been ghosted so many times, it makes my head spin. And I've been proven correct over and over. Unless there's a confirmation of time and place, it's not a date. So if I don't hear from that person, sometimes I'll give them the morning of. If I don't hear from that person at noon and we talked about having plans later in the day, like maybe, 4 or 6, by noon, I'm out. I'm making other plans. Some other things to look for is if they cancel with no plans to reschedule. When there's a continued pattern of breaking dates or being too occupied to make plans, that's usually a sign of disinterest. And that's okay as long as you don't allow it to continue. If he's just not into you, good to know that now. So next, Jack, you're out. So you can make way for somebody that is really interested. Or if they're always just so busy, you've heard, well, maybe I can see you if I have nothing better going on Wednesday or after 6 or 7. And guess what? You're too busy for that. You deserve someone who puts plans with you ahead of their tentative coworker happy hour, right? Even the busiest people make time when they really like someone. Another big red flag for me is if they are talking about their ex or overly criticizing their ex. There is personal responsibility about why a relationship ends, and if they're constantly blaming the other ex, there has to be accountability on both ends. Your date may have been acting in a certain way during the relationship to bring about their ex's crazy behavior. Just remember that when they're talking about their crazy ex, there's a way that person might have contributed to it. So that's something very important to keep your eye on and your radar out for. Or if they're emotionally talking about their ex, whether it's sorrow or sadness or anger, or their ex comes up all the time, it's apparent that they're not over them, or they still have some anger or resentment towards them. And it's best to stay away from something like that until they can work that out on their own. And then there's the men that lay on the compliments and romance too quick. Like, remember, slow and steady wins the race. I call this love bombing. A lot of narcissists do this, and this is something to look out for. They love bomb you. You're the most beautiful person in the world. They can't believe they found you. I manifested you. I'm so lucky to have you in my life, and I see this huge future with you, which I call future fucking. It's future fucking is when they are talking about, maybe they just met you and they're talking about like taking you to a wedding 6 months later. Oh, let's go on this vacation or whatever it is. They're making all these future plans with you and you've just met them or you're getting to know them. That is a big red flag in my radar. Red flag. Waving. And it's almost like a disappointment when I hear someone talking like that, talking about my future. It's like, uh-oh. And I'm always proven correct. So really watch out for that. If they're laying it on thick with over-the-top compliments, even on your first date and romance, stop to think for a second. Do they even know you yet? The answer is no, and you're probably not the first woman this week to experience this art and this act. And it can be a sign of neediness or narcissism, but it could also be the early sign of controlling behavior. So, like I said, be aware of that. And that leads to, this is one of my pet peeves, like, sometimes I haven't even met the person and they're texting me, hey babe, or hey sweetie, or hey beautiful. It makes me think that they don't remember my name or they don't remember who they're talking to because they're talking to so many people. You don't know me yet. You don't have a right to call me these pet names. It literally makes like my stomach go sour and gives me like yucky feelings all over my body, because if they're calling me that, like, what does it mean when I am in an intimate relationship with them? It doesn't mean anything to them. If I have somebody that's calling me sweetie, babe, honey, that is endearing and I want to mean something to my partner. It means something to me. So if you're calling me sweetie, honey, darling right out of the gates, it doesn't mean anything. Also, when they say things that don't quite add up, if your spidey senses are tingling that something about their story doesn't add up, believe yourself. If it just doesn't feel right, listening to your gut will help you avoid dating mistakes and the potential heartache that can result from falling for someone who isn't who they say they are. You don't need to do the research. You don't need to stick around to learn more. Just trust your instincts that you're sensing something isn't quite right. If they're lying about little things, what else will they lie about? And lastly, who are they around other people? Like, when you go out on a date and you're at a restaurant, are they rude to the waiter or the bartender or anyone in the service position? Like, they're thinking that someone is lower than them. Are they generous? That is so important to me personally. Like, are they going to pick up the bill? Are they going to ask you to split the bill? Like, that is like an eliminator for me. I'm sorry. You invited me on this date. You can put a, $15 happy hour or like a $4 coffee, because I want to see that you're generous and you're thinking about me as a woman. And it's just an instinctual thing. Isn't it an instinct for you to take care of a woman? I mean, most women can take care of those things on her own, but why should she have a man that's going to allow her to do all the things that she already does on her own? We want to see that our life can become better with you in it. Now, I know I've talked a lot about the negatives, but negatives is what leads to the positives, because without those negatives, you wouldn't know what's really positive and what you can really appreciate. And it really showcases when someone is doing the things that are important to you as a woman in the man that you want to be with, spend time with, get to know, and possibly date. And that can be as simple as, does he call me? Does he pick up the phone and call me instead of just texting all the time? It's as simple as that. A lot of women that will set you apart as a man from a huge herd of other possibilities. It's as simple as picking up a phone and calling, say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, how was your day? Just a little chit chat, something. You're coming home from work, seeing how they're doing. It can set you apart from the rest. And is there real communication? They're really trying to get to know you. There's consistency over time. It's so important for that. On the flip side of the Cancer and the busy bee, there's the date that's reliable and consistent. They set a time and a place and they keep it. They say they'll call you, and they do. Whenever I poll my friends or ask my friends who they've been through the online dating gauntlet and come out with a long-term relationship, they'll always point to their significant other's consistency at the turning point when they knew something was different in a good way. So men, be consistent. Women, look for consistency, look for real communication, and look for continuity. Is it continuing? Another big positive, especially in the beginning, is are they listening to you? Are they really hearing what you have to say? Are they really trying to find out about your life and then sitting there and listening? You can tell when a guy is listening. You can see when their eyes are glazing over. I mean, did they even hear anything I just said? So listening is underrated. If you're out on a date and the person's attention is focused solely on you with thoughtful two-way conversation, insightful questions, and no one-upping, like where he's just waiting for you to end your sentence, not really listening so he can talk about whatever it is he's talking about, not even hearing anything that you're saying. If there is none of that, you found someone worth getting to know a bit further. I mean, you don't want the guy either that just talks all about himself, not asking anything about you. You know, it's a two-way street. So you can learn a lot about a person on a first date if they just only talk about themselves, or if they're bragging, or I like a lot of times to keep the conversation on them because I like to learn about them, but I am also watching too to see if you're asking about me. And the best way to know if your date is someone ready to offer you their undivided attention, they've put their phone away, or better yet, shut it off completely. Men, put your phone away. You know, I go on a date so many times their phone is upside down on the table, or I go to the bathroom and I come back and there you are with your phone. Just put it away. You know, you can spare an hour of your time. And I get it. Sometimes I've been on lunches and it's during business hours and you have your phone because you have to be, maybe work might be reaching out to them. But, you know, if you can give us your undivided attention, and there's nothing worse than somebody checking their phone during your date, it's a big eliminator. So if you can show that they put their phone away or shut it off completely and their attention is undivided onto you, that's someone worth keeping around. And I get it. Sometimes you might be at a lunch with somebody that, you know, might be during business hours, but don't keep picking up the phone all the time, or excuse yourself. Do you mind if I take this phone call? It's my work. There's nothing worse or more disheartening than somebody that has their phone. You just met this person, or maybe it's your second or third date, and they're constantly on their phone. And even as you get deeper into the relationship, can they really be with you? Are they with you, or are they always on their phone? So I've seen so many instances where you see couples out and they're not even talking to each other, and they're just more enwrapped in their phone than each other. So I don't ever want to get in a relationship like that. I mean, I'm on my device as well. I try to limit it, but especially in the beginning, I really want to get to know my partner without that little device that we're always on getting in the way. And somebody that does take the time to not check their phone, or even like not even put it on the table, is worth getting to know and worth keeping a while longer to see if there might be more things in common. So this last one, and we'll get on to more as you get more into a relationship, as you're dating longer, but these are in the very beginning phases, like the first, second date, or the first couple weeks, or the first month. This is an important one because I've taken many lifts in Ubers over the last several years, and that is someone that offers to pick you up at the airport. You know, the airport security is going to make you leave and go around the airport. So nobody loves going to the airport or fighting their way to the airport, especially when I used to live in LA and you had to go to LAX. Even though my last couple of years I lived at the beach, the queue at the airport was horrible. And where I live now in Portland, it's even further from the airport, even though it takes less time because there's not as much traffic. You know, and it's so nice for me to see a friendly face, to get out of the airport and see someone you know, especially someone you have a romantic interest in. Like, how nice is that? And I've taken so many Ubers or Lyfts or whatnot by myself through these years that if someone offered to grab me at the airport, man, that's sexy. That's like, you know, that's showing acts of service. And that has become my love language. Actually, I took the test, I think it was about a year ago, and it changed. I appreciate a man that offers to do things without being asked, that anticipates something that I might need, and it shows their affection. This applies to any less than desirable act of service only a friend would pull through on, which is nice. I love it when a friend picks me up, but somebody that I'm romantically interested in, that's a biggie. And think of helping you put together IKEA furniture or providing a helping hand when hanging curtain rods or doing something. I just had an infestation of ants. I was in my bedroom for like a week because I didn't want to be downstairs until the exterminator came because there were little ants everywhere. No matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of them. And this would have been a chance for somebody that I was seeing to act as a hero. Oh, how can I help? Or let me come over and see what I can do to help this situation. And somebody I was seeing offered nothing. They're just like, oh yeah, they're bad this time of year. Nothing. I got nothing for them. It's a time for you to be a hero. So anytime you can do that for your woman, it's a big one up. Because ladies, who does not love a hero? Who does not love a warrior? I want a warrior. At the end of the day, we all want someone we don't want to be alone. We want to be with someone that we resonate with, that aligns with our values. We don't want to sacrifice foundational values in order to have someone in our life. So if you set yourself up with some of these tips that I've learned over the years, over the time, many starts and stops and fails, and keep brushing myself off and, going forward. The battle scars, we've all had them. And if you sit down and hear like some of these online stories, in fact, I think I want to do a podcast with people's like worst dating stories online. I think it'd be a hysterical episode because as we are in this modern era of dating, it's not going away. The apps, hopefully the way they're doing them will be a little different, but people are going to meet online. It's just the way things are. And when we can go offline, I feel it's a lot better. But, we all want somebody that we can spend our lives with and really share the best things in life. How much more enjoyable is it spending time with someone that you are totally vibing with on intellectual levels, spiritual levels, emotional level, and not to mention like freaking physical level is off the chart. Vacations are better. Just sitting at home watching Netflix is better. Sharing a glass of wine is better. So let's get out there. Let's get out and like find or allow big love to come to us. It's worth it. It's worth taking the time to create values for yourself, have boundaries and know how to use them, use your discernment to choose properly, and do not compromise. And of course, there's always compromising in relationships, but not the fundamental things that make a big difference. Don't overlook things that is bad behavior, and really using that discernment to choose and to, savor the waiting and know that it can take time and don't rush into things. So just so you're not alone or you have somebody that's there, a body. My hope for you, myself, for everybody listening is for you to find that love that makes all those amazing things that this life has so much better because you're sharing it with somebody. You're sharing it with somebody that you waited for, that you went down in the trenches. You've dusted the dirt off your shoulders and you've held the space for to come into your life. So let's create that. Let's allow that and let's all find that big, beautiful love. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.